Many thanks everyone for still staying with us on the program Big Talk, where we'll take a look at the big issues in the country. It looks that issues of the Nigerian Labour Congress President Nigeria has not probably been resolved. Where yesterday the presidency had to react to the arrest saga. The presidency said, "You are not above the law." NLC president is not above the law. And just a few minutes ago, NLC have also come out with another press statement to say, disregard these stories that their attentions have been linked to the sources that within the agency that preceding his arrest, Comrade Joe Ajero, president of the Congress, was invited by the DSS, but that he did not honor the invitation. That they would like to set the record straight, that as following the days preceding his arrest, Congress president had a discussion with the DG of DSS on a courtesy visit. That is also the statement where the DSS had said, where the presidency has said he was invited, but probably didn't honor due to his travel to United Kingdom. I'm being joined by a legal practitioner, Barrister Akanimo. Thanks so much for joining us on the program tonight.
Good evening. Pleased to meet you.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a concern because we're trying to find the last thing, because it looks that if this is not well managed, people will feel that the government, is an anarchy government where anybody can be picked wrongfully and all of that. So we're trying to find meaning to the arrest of the president, president of NLC. Yesterday they reacted, "You are not above the law." From what you've seen, was it a share of power between NLC with their structure against the security agencies?
Well, ordinarily, every Nigerian every Nigerian is within the ambits of the law. No Nigerian is above the law. Any Nigerian can be invited by any security agency, whether the police, the DSS, or any arm of the armed forces, to answer questions bordering on petitions raised by either individuals or the agencies themselves. However, why it is intriguing at this point is because of the timing. The timing of his purported arrest at the Murtala Muhammed Airport in Lagos on his way to attend a TUC Congress in the United Kingdom is what raises issues. I will not want to take the position of government as being very certain, because Joe Ajero as a person has always been on the spotlight of this present administration because of his defiance and tough stance on issues that bother on the welfare and generality of Nigerian workers. But that is not to say that as an individual, he is not immune to persecution and or arrest. So, but I believe government is not being very economical with it. It's being economical with the truth, because Joe Ajero was only being prevented from attending the TUC Congress. And this is also part of what the civil society sees as a clampdown on the opposition, those who are opposing the recent fuel price hike in the country. But beyond that, constitutionally, Joe Ajero is not above the law. The presidency is right.
Right. We're trying to find whether
or not he was invited by the DSS. Is his word against that of the DSS. But 2 days back, we are aware that the DSS had finally released his international passport to his lawyers and released his mobile telephones. And that, in Nigerian context, that largely suggests that he was actually targeted to not to attend the TUC Congress in the UK. But Nigerians, I would like us to shift our attention from his arrest to the issues underlying. For how long can we continue like this? Why is it happening at a time just few days after the fuel price hike was announced by the NNPC? It's unacceptable to most Nigerians. I would like government to look at the issues and leave chasing shadows. Yes, it's within the powers of government officials and the security agencies to go after persons who, by their actions or conduct, constitute a threat to national security. But a greater threat to national security is even the increase in price itself. And that should not have been allowed to happen at this time.
Probably some people feel that all of this is linked up to the end by governance protest, and also where government have said some people are trying to commit treason. Some people have been arrested, taken behind bars, and also concerned. We've also looked at issues where they have also indicted a foreigner who they said was trying to probably has been sponsoring financially, terrorism in the country, and all of these allegations.
Yes,
so how do we begin to drag the president to honor all of this?
Yes, the government has the right to accuse any citizen whose actions or words appear to be treasonable That is not in doubt. The issue is, I'm saying, government is chasing shadows. They should go after. So what is the substance? People came out to say we are hungry. I disagreed with their team, end bad governance. That is why government is looking at it from a very wrong perspective. So, because when you say end bad governance, you are simply imputing or saying that there is no good governance in the country, and that is not correct. I had expected the organizers of that protest to say end hunger, end hardship, end suffering, because these are the issues, not really bad governance. Now, Nigeria as a country has reeled through what we may actually see as bad governance that is not very peculiar to this present administration. There is hardship in the land. There is hunger. Those are the initial issues people should protest against. So because of the word end bad governance, the handlers of government have advised government to say, look, that thing is political. And that has beclouded the sight and reasoning of government to look at the real issues that indeed there is hardship among the common populace. There is hunger. There is suffering. People are suffering. People can no longer live normally. They don't have the power, the capacity, the living to bear the cost of living. So that has beclouded the reasoning of most government officials to think that, the opposition parties, Labour Party, these persons, especially when some politicians came out to support that protest, to say, it's political. And it's a Nigerian thing. That is where the problem lies. Government should leave politics and face issues. The drivers of that protest may have been members of a certain political party. But what they raised are issues that reflect what is going on in the country. So I believe it is because of that, because it's very insensitive for government to allow the NNPC to increase the price of fuel shortly after that protest. That's daring.
So, I mean, we're trying to get meaning about all of this hardship. We understand where some states are not doing better in terms of also addressing some of these issues. And when you look at what the statistics of government, palliative distributions to cushion the effect, some level of interventions of federal government, but the whole of these concerns have also been centered that it's not working. The 70,000 minimum wage probably signed by the president have not been properly implemented. So these are what the questions some workers are saying. So going after the NLC president is also linked that is the government is an impunity by the side of government to do all of that. Just as you mentioned, issues and they have not answered a whole lot of questions. Do you feel that the government are disconnected from the reality on ground? The reason I'm asking that question is because they are communicating, but Nigerians are not listening.
Yeah, like I said, this is a typical Nigerian problem. I know the federal government has done quite a lot. It is almost rare, if not impossible, to see masses go after their state governors because almost all powers are at the center. That's where the problem lies. I know what the federal government has done. I've read about it, I've seen it. But most state governments actually pillage these resources to whatever they feel like doing. And truth be told, if the federal government exists in isolation without carrying the states along, there will be a vacuum. There won't be that correlation. Even down to look at the efforts of the federal government to restore back the local government system, local government financial autonomy. It is still the state governments that truncate it, who say no. You can imagine some local government chairman in a state in the southwest woke up and said, look, we are not part of that, we don't want to be. And even though that thing we're saying is just an old song, because it's just not applicable, the federal government will still credit those local councils. If they have no accounts to present, then they will stay without allocations. But that's a discourse for another day. The point I'm making is, Nigerians hold leaders accountable at the top. No one cares what happens down below. Ministers of government that are inefficient, officials of government who have not taken their job seriously. But beyond that, the question still is, and which I want government to look at, leave people face issues. The NLC president is not above the law. He can be invited, and there should be no noise about his arrest or invitation. He's like any other Nigerian. He has no immunity on him as a president of Nigeria Labour Congress. He's just the leader of a lobby group, like any other lobby group. So his actions, where they offend the provisions of the existing laws, where they have become threats or are seen or suspected to be threats to national security, of course course, it has to be brought to book.
Does he not have some level of immunity?
No, he does not have any form of any immunity. He has no form of immunity. He is like any other Nigerian.
So, probably mobilizing other organs of labor against government. What are
no, that is not an offense. No to any law.
You have put all of the NLC in a lot. Probably.
Yes, because why it is that way is because government is the one giving room for that. The timing of his invitation, the timing of his arrest, the way and manner is being arrested at the time Nigerians don't want people here to hear anything from government other than the reversal of the pump price is the reason why that is the situation. I don't think arresting Joe Ajaero alone should stop a strike. Government has not been arresting labor leaders before to stop strikes. Strikes have been going on. The issue is, before government invited or arrest him, they have intelligence. We have to give them the benefit of doubt. Security agencies have intelligence. So they will not just go to the airport and stop him, even if it means stopping him from attending the TUC Congress in the UK. But they have intelligence. So Joe Ajaero should tell Nigerians too what he knows that others don't know. What he knows that government also knows. Because we live in a country where when government is facing the backlash, the actions of government, of course, will be given a wrong interpretation, like what it is at the moment. How can he increase fuel price? And instead of addressing Nigerians and the need why that fuel price has been increased, and then trying to solve better, you are going, that is totally unacceptable.
I mean, prior to when they had actually agreed on the 70,000 minimum wage, it looks at probably NLC had a good understanding with the presidency. So on the increase of these price of petrol, they said to government, you've betrayed us. That statement probably also looks at NLC have fallen out again with the presidency, So it looks like
I totally disagree with the views of the NLC that they have been betrayed. I rather say they were willing accomplices, because details of that discussion were not made public. The president of the NLC or its officials should have come back to tell Nigerians the details of that conversation.
Probably the betrayal may be linked to the issue of 250,000.
There is no betrayal anywhere linked to people.
The government said we will not increase pump price. That's the reason why we have to manage a 70,000 naira.
I read that same editorial, but nobody is there. Nobody was at that meeting to say to corroborate that statement. So that's why I said I don't see it as betrayal. They were willing accomplices. Nobody has corroborated that story. Who was there in that meeting? Who was there during the discussions? Who has corroborated to say yes, indeed? And why are you saying it now? Why didn't you say it after that meeting? So this is the same games that labor leaders and play with government officials. But like I said, we should not go into that. We should look at the issues. If the Nigerian Labour Congress leadership had accepted 70,000 on behalf of labor workers, and they took that decision and they exercised that discretion, then without coming back to give them the reason why they took that decision, this is not a good time to tell Nigerians it was a betrayal. There was no betrayal.
The hunger is real. Do you feel
two parties sat down, had their discussions. After all, look at the way they celebrated the agreement. They took pictures. They were smiling. There was no sign of any party being under undue pressure or any party being deceived. So that what Nigerians want to hear is, how can the hunger in the land reduce? Fuel, or PMS as you put it, touches almost every sector of the Nigerian economy because it is more home-driven, it's more locally driven. The rich, some time back people said there's no middle class again, but those who can afford it will not complain. But majority of Nigerians who fall below poverty line are the ones who are badly hit by this increase in fuel price.
The question, because it looks like the president is reiterating that better days are coming and making some of these hard decisions. He has reiterated over and over again. China, he reiterated over that he's taking this tough decision because it wants a better country for us. But the question some Nigerians probably are asking is, at what cost do we sacrifice these days ahead of the better days? How are we sure of the better days? Does it look that the government is already taking us there? From what you can see, I do feel that the government are not doing enough in terms of where they're taking Nigerians to and to the current reality on ground.
I don't know what the government means by better days. Maybe better days refer to when all Nigerians have died and you have carcasses on the streets.
Probably economy better.
Yeah. What do you call better days?
Where dollar will get to naira.
Within the first term of this administration, the first 4 years, we're having untold hardship. I don't wish this for this present administration, because this government came in with a lot of goodwill. Now, that is not to say that certain policies of government will not be difficult for Nigerians to swallow, of course. But it is also the responsibility of government
is it too much
to educate Nigerians and provide relief. You don't wake up and allow an organ of government to increase fuel price. The same tricky issue that has triggered unrest in this country before. It is unhealthy, it is insensitive, and it is unacceptable to most Nigerians. There is nothing wrong in that happening. They have their calculations, they have their indices. We are in a difficult time, even globally. There's a global economic crisis. The government owes citizens the duty to explain, to engage, to provide relief. The last time palliatives were being distributed across states, how many people did it get to across the states? I said it before that I was of the opinion the federal government would have handled that distribution themselves. So
sending it directly to the state.
Yes! Record of where it went.
Palliative even sustainable?
Some states distributed and have records, some didn't.
Is a palliative even sustainable?
Well, the word palliative, if you look up in the dictionary, palliative is even, the word palliative is even very denigrating. It's because palliative, as it were, initially was used to on patients in the hospitals to delay death. Death is certain. So when you use the word palliative in the economy, you are trying to say, look, we people will all die, but you hold yourself with with this. So, but I continue to say that government needs to do enough in educating Nigerians, in putting relief measures, and exercising caution in the way and manner most of these difficult decisions. Really, probably, maybe these decisions have a better ending in front, but Nigerians are not ready to take that because Nigerians have suffered enough. And so Nigerians are saying enough of shenanigans. Now, government has a duty to protect lives and property, and one of such is also to prevent threats. So any Nigerian that constitutes itself as a threat falls under the purview of government's radar. That is not in question. But at a time when Nigerians are bearing the cost of hardship, suffering, is that a good time for government to exercise such powers?
We can really exhaust some of this consideration as we also